Have you ever felt like you were drowning in a sea of people, yet you still felt utterly alone? And it's kind of that suffocating silence of loneliness, and it can be really overwhelming. And it can leave you feeling unseen, unheard, and even unwanted. And it's actually a feeling that is far too familiar with us. And it's more common than you might think. In fact, a staggering 61% of adults report feeling lonely. But what if I told you that the steps to breaking free from this feeling of isolation is actually a little bit easier than we think? And the key lies in a simple yet powerful act that can really unlock the door to healing and connection. Welcome, my friend. I'm Lee, and I thought that we might talk about loneliness today. Loneliness is more than just a fleeting emotion, and it can have profound impacts on our mental, emotional, and even our physical well-being. Emotionally, it feels like a deep ache or an emptiness. It's a longing for meaningful connections that seem like they're just always going to be just out of reach. Mentally, it might create this loop of negative thoughts and self-doubt and pessimism about the possibility of forming lasting friendships. And physically, loneliness can lead to a sense of restlessness or lethargy, and it can just drain vitality from your body. I recently experienced this firsthand when my two youngest sons moved out on their own. And yes, it was a cause for celebration, but it also left my wife and myself as empty nesters. And despite being someone who actually enjoys solitude, and I even take week-long solo retreats, I just wasn't prepared for the suffocating silence that was left behind after they moved out. It really was a new level of loneliness that I hadn't experienced actually since I was much younger. You see, I was a latchkey kid growing up, and after school, I'd walk home from school to an emptied house. My parents were divorced, my mom was at work, and my brother was with his friends. And so during that season of my life, not having many friends, I spent most of my time alone. And I'd often have the TV on just so that I wouldn't feel lonely. My friends during those days were the Three Stooges or the Honeymooners. So what is this simple yet powerful act that can help us break free from the chains of loneliness? And I have a few things for you, but I want to start with the act of acknowledging our feelings. Many of us struggle with this, and we fear that we might appear weak or vulnerable. But the truth is, when we prioritize looking strong, we actually deny ourselves the encouraging and healing words from other people when we need it most. It's okay to share how you feel with the people closest to you, or with a counselor or a pastor. As a person of faith, I find comfort in prayer and knowing that God is never going to leave me alone. By acknowledging our loneliness, we open the door to support, to understanding, and the possibility of meaningful connections with whom we share this with. But that is actually just the first step, and I do want to share 4 others with you that have really helped me. I'll be honest with you, I am not always good with all of these, especially number 4, but as we keep practicing, things really do get better. So the next thing is to embrace the real world. And in a world where social media just seems to dominate our lives, I find it ironic that that domination actually fosters more feelings of loneliness. And to combat that, we need to spend time in the real world. And I found that an hour of walking in nature has such a powerful way of lifting my spirits and releasing my burdens. And sometimes it's just a change of environment that we need. If you work from home or you spend time on your laptop, just simply bringing that to a coffee shop or a new environment can provide new sounds and new smells that can actually help to shift our perspective. Now, the third thing that I've discovered is to find the joy of serving. And one of the most powerful ways to combat loneliness is to serve other people alongside of other people. And volunteering not only helps fight depression, which it does, and it gives us a sense of purpose, but it also allows us to form lasting friendships. And when we share the burdens of others, it really does have a way of lifting our own. Some of my longest lasting friendships, and I'm talking about people that I've been friends with for 30 and 40 years now, began when we got to know each other in a volunteer setting. And locking arms with others and serving a cause greater than ourselves, it creates wonderful, sometimes lifelong bonds. Pro tip, that's actually how I met my wife. Fourth, and this is the one that I often struggle with, is take the initiative. And it is very common to feel like you're always the one who's reaching out for companionship. But if you feel this way, please know that it is normal. Keep reaching out and keep planning those get-togethers. And even if it feels one-sided for a while, it actually means a lot to the other person. You never know how lonely that other person might be feeling. And taking the initiative can lead to some very meaningful connections and a sense of belonging. And you actually may end up helping someone else with their loneliness by taking that initiative and reaching out. And the last thing that we can do is to embrace the power of solitude. And while loneliness can feel overwhelming, there's actually power in reframing it as solitude. And in the absence of people around us, wonderful things can actually come about. It was during times of solitude that I actually came up with the ideas for my books. And it was in solitude that I wrote them all. Solitude allows us to reflect on life and plan our goals and make time for our passions. If you're feeling lonely, then why not take that time to move the needle forward on your dreams? And trust me, because when you always have people around you, you discover that it can be an obstacle to moving forward. I'm curious, what are the dreams that you want to move forward towards accomplishing? Let me know down in the comments. Loneliness may feel like a suffocating silence, but remember that you are not alone in your struggle. There's hope for meaningful connections and a path forward towards a more fulfilling life. And by acknowledging your feelings, embracing the real world and new environments, serving others, and taking the initiative, and reframing loneliness as solitude, you can begin to break free from those chains of loneliness and isolation. So take heart, my friend. There is life beyond our loneliness. And if you want to know how to grow greater passion in your life, then check out this video here. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and we'll catch you next time.